When I started the bounce method, I surrounded myself with a small group of people who refused to let me stay comfortable. They questioned everything, my business plan, my branding, my goals, even my why. And at first it stung. But then I realized they weren't tearing me down, they were tightening my focus. Ever notice how some people lift you higher while others quietly pull you down? You walk away from one conversation fired up with new ideas and another completely drained. That's not random. That's energy alignment. And if you want to go to the next level in your life, you've got to stop surrounding yourself with anchors and start finding those elevators. Because who you choose to spend time with becomes who you become. When I was in the Marine Corps, they drilled one thing into us. You're only as strong as the Marine to your left and right. You can have the best gear, the best training, the best plan, but if your team didn't believe, didn't push, didn't move, you weren't going anywhere. Life's the same way. Your circle determines your ceiling. Most people don't fail because of lack of talent. They fail because they're surrounded by people who make average feel acceptable. Now, principle one. When I left the Marines, I noticed one thing. In the military, you don't get to pick your team, but you get to depend on them. You build trust fast because your survival depends on it. But in the civilian world, you choose your team, and most people don't even realize that choice determines your altitude. If you want to grow, you've got to audit your circle. That means stepping back and asking the hard question. Who's really adding fuel to my fire and who's quietly draining it? See, it's not always the obvious ones. Anchors don't always come in the form of critics. Sometimes they're dressed in comfort. They're the friends who say you've done enough when you barely started. They mean well, but their advice keeps you average. I had to learn the lesson the hard way. When I started flipping small multifamily properties, I was surrounded by people who thought small. They said no one does seller financing anymore, or you're crazy to buy that property that needs so much work. And for a while, I listened. But the truth, they weren't trying to hurt me. They were just projecting their own limits on me. And when you start believing in someone else's limits, you start living below your own potential. Here's what an audit looks like in real life. It's simple, but it's powerful. Step one, write down 5 people you talk to the most. The family, the co-workers, friends, whoever they are. Step 2, next to each name, write how they make you feel when you're around them. Energized, focused, drained, doubtful. Step 3, decide which category they fall into. Anchors, they hold you down with fear or negativity. Passengers, they're just along for the ride, but they won't help you steer. Elevators, they lift you, they challenge you, and believe in your potential. Once you see it on paper, you can't unsee it. These patterns become obvious. I remember one person I had to distance myself. Pretty good guy, funny, reliable. But every time I shared an idea, he would say something like, man, don't get ahead of yourself. After a while, I realized he was right. I was getting ahead of myself. But isn't that the point? I didn't need someone to hold me in place. I needed someone to push me forward. The moment I shifted that relationship, not with hate, just with distance, I made room for mentors who thought bigger. And those new voices changed everything. Within months, I was doing deals that once felt impossible. Your environment either multiplies your potential or minimizes it. There is no neutral ground. So when you audit your circle, don't just ask yourself, who do I like being around? Ask, who helps me become a better version of myself? Because proximity is power. And the closer you stand to driven, disciplined, purposeful, filled people, the higher your standards rise without you even realizing it. That's the hidden secret of success. You don't always need to work harder. Sometimes you just need to be in better company. But once you've done the audit, once you know who your anchors, passengers, and elevators are, it's time to make your next move. Start adding people who stretch you, because your circle is either a cage or a launch pad. And when you start surrounding yourself with elevators, your whole life starts to rise. Principle number 2. Once you've done the audit, you'll see it clear as day. Some people in your life have been keeping you in place, and others, they remind you of who you could become. That's when the next step begins. You've got to add people who stretch you. Now, let me be real with you. Growth is uncomfortable. It always has been. And the people who help you grow won't always make you feel good, but they'll make you get better. You don't need more people who clap when you stay the same. You need people who challenge you when you play small. When I was first learning multifamily, I thought I was doing well. I had a few duplexes, a few wins under my belt. Then I met a guy who was doing a 50-unit deal. And the first time we talked, I'll be honest, it felt a little bit intimidating. He was talking about creative financing, 7-figure raises, exit caps, and I remember thinking, man, I'm not even in the same league. But instead of shrinking back, I leaned in, started asking those questions and taking notes and listening more than I talked. And over time, something amazing started to happen. His normal became my new standard. That's the power of being around people who stretch you. They don't just teach you what's possible, they make impossible feel expected. So here's how to bring those people into your life. Step 1, go where the growth lives. Join the masterminds, attend the events, hang out in rooms where people are talking about progress, not problems. You can't find growth-minded people if you only hang out where comfortable is culture. Step 2, be humble but hungry. When you meet someone who's ahead of you, don't compete with them, contribute. Add value. If it's just with your energy, your consistency, or your willingness to learn. Successful people love pouring into others who have taken action. Step 3, seek friction, not flattery. Growth comes from tension, the kind that forces you to reevaluate your limits. Iron sharpens iron. You don't sharpen a blade by rubbing it against a pillow. When I started the bounce method, I surrounded myself with a small group of people who refused to let me stay comfortable. They questioned everything, my business plan, my branding, my goals, even my why. And at first it stung. But then I realized they weren't tearing me down, they were tightening my focus. They were pushing me to grow into the person my goals required me to become. And that's what great people do. Truth is, the right people will stretch you before they celebrate you. They'll see the version of you that's still in progress and they'll expect you to rise to it. You'll walk away from conversations feeling exposed sometimes, like you've just seen how far you still have to go, and that's a good sign. That's what growth should feel like. And here's the beautiful part. When you keep surrounding yourself with people who stretch you, you start to stretch others. Your drive becomes contagious. Your confidence becomes an example. You stop competing and start creating. That's when you know your circle is right, when everyone is rising together. So audit your circle, then add people who stretch you, because comfort might feel safe, but it never creates greatness. Now in a minute, we're going to talk about how to attract those elevators into your life. The kind of people who don't just stretch you, they multiply you. That's where the real momentum begins. Principle 3. So you've audited your circle. You started adding people who stretch you. Now comes the final step. And this one changes everything. You've got to learn how to attract the elevators. Because the people who want to meet, the mentors, the doers, the visionaries, they're not looking for followers. They're looking for equals in mindset. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't find great people by chasing them. You attract great people by becoming one. When you live with integrity, discipline, and a genuine desire to grow, you send out a frequency that attracts others doing the same. Energy recognizes energy. And that's why step 1 is simple. Be an elevator first. If you want people to lift you up, start lifting up others. Celebrate their win. Share what you know. Be the person who brings solutions instead of complaints. See, the world's full of spotlight seekers, but very few light spreaders. When you shine light on others, it's always reflecting back on you, and that's what makes you magnetic. When I started growing the Bounce Method community, I didn't attract high-level investors by bragging about success. I attracted them by helping others succeed, sharing tools, giving feedback, celebrating the small wins of people just getting started. And before long, leaders started showing up. People with bigger portfolios, stronger skills, more experience, because they recognize authenticity. They saw someone who wanted to build with people, not above them. That's the secret. When you focus on impact, influence follows. Step 2, show up consistently. The second key to attracting elevators is consistency. Growth-minded people respect action over talk. So show up, post your journey, attend the events, keep your word. Because consistency is the handshake of characters. It tells people you can trust me to keep showing up, even when it's not easy. And when you do that long enough, people who operate at a higher level will find you. Step 3, eliminate drama and embrace direction. The third key, detach from drama. Elevators don't hang around gossip, negativity, or distraction. They protect their peace because their energy is their currency. So if your world is full of drama, chaos, or emotional noise, you'll repel the people who can help you rise. Keep your conversations about purpose, possibility, progress. That's the language elevators speak. You ever notice how success feels lighter when you're around the right people? Because elevators don't compete, they collaborate. They see your wins as proof that it's possible for them too. When I began networking with high-level operators, What shocked me wasn't how smart they were, it was how generous they were. They didn't hoard information, they shared it freely because they understood abundance, and abundance attracts abundance. So here's the formula. Be valuable, be visible, be vibration matched to where you want to go. When you carry that kind of energy, you won't need to beg for a seat at the table. You're going to get invited. And when that invitation comes, you'll realize it wasn't luck. It was alignment. So be the elevator. Stay consistent and protect your energy like it's gold. Because the higher you go, the thinner the air gets and the fewer people that you can take with you. But the ones who ride that elevator with you, they will change your life. Now next, let's bring this home. Because I want to show you what happens when you finally surround yourself with those elevators and your whole world begins to rise. Now, we started this conversation talking about energy. How some people lift you higher while others hold you down. And if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been grinding but not growing, chances are it's not your work ethic, it's your environment. So remember, principle 1, audit your circle. Get honest about who feeds your fire and who drains your fuel. Principle 2, people who stretch you. Step into the rooms where you feel a little uncomfortable. That's where the growth lives. Principle 3, attract elevators. Be one yourself. Bring value. Stay consistent. Protect your energy. Do that and everything changes. When I look back at my own journey from that kid in West Virginia who grew up with nothing to a Marine learning discipline, to a software leader and a real estate investor, every leap in my life came from who I was around. When I was around people who dreamed, I dreamed bigger. And when I finally surrounded myself with elevators, I stopped surviving and started scaling. That's the power of proximity. Because success isn't a solo climb, it's an elevator ride. You just have to choose the right floor and the right people to ride with. Your future is waiting one conversation, one connection, one circle away. And the moment you start protecting your environment, your energy, and your standards, you'll rise faster than you ever thought possible. So here's your challenge. Do a circle audit tonight. Reach out to the one person who stretches you and make a commitment to be an elevator for someone else this week. Because the world don't need more critics, it needs more lifters. And if you're ready to surround yourself with people who think bigger, move faster, and refuse to settle, join me at thebouncemethod.com. It's where we grow together. That's where we build wealth, discipline, and mindset as a team. Anchors hold you down, elevators lift you up. Choose wisely, and I'll see you at the top.